See, throughout the year, we will be exploring a broad range of topics focused on fostering learning opportunities for people of all ages at the local level. Each session will address different themes and highlight the needs of diverse learner groups. The topic we are addressing today is particularly important because, when implemented in an inclusive manner, digital technologies and AI have the scope to ensure equitable access to quality education, bridging gaps in opportunity and fostering lifelong learning for members of diverse urban communities. Let us begin with a quick overview of today's agenda. First of all, we will hear from Miss Viola Pinzi, a technical advisor at the European Association for the Education of Adults, the EAEA. We will then have presentations from 4 learning cities: Glasgow in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Yeonpyeong-gu in the Republic of Korea, Mexico City in Mexico, and Envigado in Colombia. Following these interventions, we will proceed to an open discussion with questions from the audience, time permitting. We have quite a packed agenda today, as I mentioned, so I would like to kindly ask all speakers to strictly stick to their allotted times, so we are able to take some questions at the end. Lastly, I would like to share 3 important technical points. First, this event is being recorded and will later be available via the UIL website. Secondly, we warmly invite you to please use the chat box for any comments you may have during today's event or to let us know where you are joining us from. However, please do use the Q&A box for any questions you have for our speakers. We will do our very best to address as many of your questions as possible. Finally, interpretation is available throughout today's webinar in Arabic, French, Spanish, and Chinese. I would like to warmly thank all of our partners who are supporting us with language interpretation. Korean interpretation is kindly provided by Yeonpyeong-gu in the Republic of Korea. Chinese interpretation is provided by the Shanghai Municipal Institute for Lifelong Education, or SMILE, in the People's Republic of China. And for Arabic interpretation, this is provided by the Regional Centre of Quality and Excellence in Education, the RCQE, under the auspices of UNESCO, located in Jubail in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much to our partners for making this webinar more accessible through your support. Now, without further ado, let us hear from our first speaker today, Ms. Viola Pinzi, Technical Advisor at the European Association for the Education of Adults. Viola, you have 8 minutes. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And thank you, Katie, and the colleagues of UIL, of course, for having us here today. I hope you can see the slides. Have I loaded properly? Okay. So as
Yes.
Katie mentioned, I work...
Viola, just to say, we do see the slides, but if you could go into slideshow mode, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Is it now? Because I think it's still loading. Can you see the slideshow?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So as Katie was mentioning, I work at the European Association for the Education of Adults, which is an NGO, a European NGO based in Brussels. So of course, our work is focusing on the European aspects, but we work also extensively on association and networks for all over the globe. So I was asked today to give a bit of an introduction, let's say, to the topic. So I was thinking to start our conversation with a bit of clarification or disambiguation, we could say, when we talk about digitalization in education or specifically adult education. It's a field, let's say, it includes a lot of processes, different processes, of course, not just the learning process. So one of the most important aspects, of course, to tackle when we talk about this is competence. So digital skills and competences. And these are also, let's say, affecting the processes of learning at different levels. There is the personal level, of course, for learners, educators. There is a professional competence of educators, which is not necessarily as using, let's say, digital tools for personal use. And then there is, of course, the competence of the providers. Another important aspect is, of course, what I would call globally infrastructure, so the organizational capacity. And for organizational capacity, we can think of a very big university, but we can think also about a community center or a learning center or even a library or even a non-formal, let's say, association. And here, of course, we have the network. So the actual, for example, access to the internet or even the electrical network in some cases. We have the devices of all kinds, and we have the software and licenses. So we have the actual tools that we may want to use for a digital process, including a digital learning process. And within this, of course, we have what we call emerging technologies. And within emerging technology, we have the subset of what we call the AI-based tools. So I was just wanted to frame a bit also the type of elements we're dealing with. And last but not least, of course, we had the learning process itself. So how design a learning process with technology. There is also this acronym here, which stands for technology enhanced teaching. So how we use actually technologies in a way that is valuable, relevant, useful, and inclusive in the learning process. And this is, again, a very important question because we will not use the same tools, we will not use the same modalities for all our programs. Another very important point, as I mentioned, for at least in IAEA, of course, vision, and here you can see also the links after we will share presentation to our learning manifesto, is the importance of considering the digitalization processing from also the point of view of what we call life skills, which of course include the digital skills, but it's really a set of skills, a set of competence that people, anybody, every one of us needs for being, participate in society and living their life. And the other side, of course, the importance of inclusion and social justice. So the use of digital tools is very useful, can be very useful, can be very advantageous. At the same time, we need to avoid the risk of further marginalization instead of increasing, let's say, access. So these are, let's say, the fundamental aspects. We have also very recently conducting a research with some European partners in 6 European countries with Algebra University in Croatia. This is just a small preview because the report is not published yet, but it will be very soon. So I just wanted to give you a hint. Is quite relevant because it's focusing exactly on how to use emerging technology in literacy programs for adult education. So literacy means language literacy, financial literacy, and so on. And indeed, here, the most important aspect emerging from this was the fact that inclusion is not just about the technology. We really need to think about the competence of the learners. We really need to think about the digital, social, and emotional aspect all at once, including, for example, the learner need to be confident, need to be trusting the tools, need to trust the process, but also, of course, their own motivation to use such, let's say, digital element. And then very specific about emerging technology, what we observed is that, of course, there are already quite some, let's say, AI-based tools for learning, platforms, data-driven tools. And this is a very big field I can really summarize in 8 minutes, I think. But let's call them AI-based tools. Although, at least in our experience, the use of these tools in adult education is still quite scattered, fragmented. Often, of course, we see how much the barriers of use of digital tools in learning in general are very important. For example, indeed the lack of training of educators. So another very important aspect is the short-term planning. So the availability actually of the tools in that sense. So to give a bit of, as I say, a start of this conversation today, I was just putting together these elements I would call aspect to be discussed, to be explored whenever a training provider, a city, a community center, whoever want to design a digital learning solution for adult education, for adults, need to go through, in my opinion, as a mini, let's say, implementation plan. The first and most important aspect is that technology in terms of learning needs to be contextualized. So we need really to think about the local needs, of course, of the context, but also the learner. And the other, I would say, the second most important aspect for me would be the long-term sustainability. So we need to make plans of the using this kind of tools that can be supported and sustained in the long term. And the most specific aspect we could list are, of course, as for the learning design itself, as for any learning program, the outcomes. So what do we want to obtain, what do we want to achieve, what we want our learners, our citizens to do with these programs. But also, of course, the method, the environment. We would not use the same tool if we want to do a master or we want to do a micro-learning experience of 5 minutes. Then, more specifically for emerging technology solution, I give a very serious thought. So this can be turned into a sort of question we can ask ourselves. The ethical consideration, I think we all have heard how the, let's say, more advanced technology sometimes still may not use a very wide, broad set of data in the background, which means that they can be working better for certain audiences or for certain groups, for certain demographics. So we need to be aware of that when we do a digital solution. Accessibility, as I mentioned before, is not just about technology, it's about knowledge, it's about competence, it's about the literacy to use these tools at all levels. Of course, it is about the technology, which kind of solution, LETech, ALTech. It is about the infrastructure, even the weather. I have a house in a mountain area. In winter, it's very difficult to use heavy data-driven solution. And of course, legal aspects. For example, the fact that if we use very structured tools, often there is a bit of a trade-off. Very structured, very complex tool use a lot of data. This means that this data needs to be collected, needs to be shared. Not all learner even could be very comfortable to create an account, for example, on an online platform. And finally, as I mentioned, very important, the sustainability plan. So we need to share a solution that we know we can provide in the long term. Solution that can be, for example, one side could be dedicated, customized solution, but at the same time, are this solution the most sustainable? How much this is going to cost? Is the technology evolving very fast? How much? How often will we need to do updates? So these are very, very important questions, I think, when we look about, let's say, community social learning solutions. Here, just to wrap, list the challenges, opportunities that are indeed related to the things we have seen together. So the challenges, of course, are related to the fact that digital tools change practices. So this has a great impact. The needs to use in context, legal and ethical consideration, try to avoid to marginalize people more instead of including them more with tools or solutions that are not very accessible. The rapid changes, and also what we observe, at least in Europe, the relatively limited availability of specific solution, edtech, so educational technology solution for adult learning. There is a lot, for example, in my opinion, for schools and even for education, but when we talk about non-formal education, perhaps very specifically designed, there is a bit less. On the other side, of course, plenty of opportunities. Of course, we all know the capability of reaching, for example, local or rural community, the possibility to have hybrid courses, hybrid programs where we have some online, some digital, some in presence, and the large availability, of course, so whatever is open source, so digital solution, but also resources. And nowadays, I would say also more and more the availability of low-tech solution with relatively complex feature. Let's say 10 years ago, having an AI-based tool on your phone would be practically impossible. Nowadays, devices are smaller, prices are getting cheaper, but this is not necessarily always possible or true. So this would be, let's say, my food for thoughts. In the slides that I think the colleagues will share with you, I also put some information about the projects I mentioned, and then some final reflection you could perhaps use, of course, in your process or in your organization. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Viola, for that fascinating intervention. Thank you for raising those really important points around inclusion, ethical considerations, accessibility, sustainability. And we really look forward to engaging with that report you mentioned that you will soon publish. I'm sure that many of the considerations you raised will arise also in our interventions from Learning Cities today. So thank you for providing that excellent foundation for our practical examples today. So now we will hear from Mr. Simon Kelly and Mr. Chris Mears from the Learning City of Glasgow in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Simon and Chris, you have 5 minutes, please. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. So thanks for the invite to present today on Glasgow's journey towards connected learning for our children and young people across the city. As Katie says, I'm Simon Kelly. I am Quality Improvement Officer within Glasgow's Education Improvement Services. And my colleague is Chris.
Yep, my name is Christopher Mear, Digital Development Officer for Glasgow City Council with responsibility for professional learning.
So we thought it'd be quite good to give you a little bit of a potted history of Glasgow's background, context. Glasgow is the largest local authority within Scotland, We have 32 mainstream secondaries, including the world's only Gaelic medium fully immersive secondary school. There's 145 primary schools and 22 additional support needs schools within the city, and we have more than 30,000 secondary pupils within our schools. Glasgow has the highest area of deprivation, with the number of free school meals being the indicator there. It was all roughly double or treble the national average, depending on the stage of schooling for our young people. In 2023, there were 43% of our secondary pupils between the age of 11 and 15 who were registered for free school meals, and roughly 16% of our children in the city live in workless households. But it gives you a picture of the deprivation that Glasgow sits within. Part of our makeup is we have a very multicultural range of pupils within our schools. There are 26% of our school population are not Indigenous to Glasgow. 71% of our pupils, English is not their first language, and that's the highest percentage in the country. And 51% of our pupils in secondary school have a recognised additional support need. Within our schools, we've talked about the English as an additional language. 43% of our young people recognise English as an additional language. When Glasgow started the Connected Learning Programme in 2018, the purpose of it was to enhance learning and teaching through the use of technology. Its goal was to improve the outcomes for our young people. And we recognised that 16% of young people left school in 2009 without a positive destination. And we wanted to see if we could identify ways to ensure better equity for our young people. So the percentage of young people who entered higher education in 2023 was only 38%, and it was important to kind of try and move that forward. 84% of our young people then received additional qualifications by the time they left, but we felt that the technology would ensure equity. It would be supportive to those children who had accessibility requirements. So 11% of our young people were diagnosed with dyslexia, and that would allow to support that as well. But we wanted to make sure that we moved away from a bring your own device idea. We wanted to make sure that every child in a Glasgow school had access to appropriate technology. It was important that we supported schools with their drive towards bringing technology in, and we created a specific role, a digital leader of learning, to support in schools to provide professional learning for our staff and to support the rollout across the school. But that was also supported at a central level, and we have a regional training centre that works with our young people as well, and that provides a high quality professional learning for our staff as well. There was obviously challenges around logistics and distribution. When the rollout started, it was just prior to COVID, and we had to accelerate things through COVID. So that kind of impacted on professional learning. But we think we've got to a situation at the back end of COVID where staff were fully engaged with it, as were schools. I've kind of briefly touched on the regional training centre, the importance of that high quality professional learning to support schools and staff take forward technology. And where we are now is we are just about to introduce our second Connected Learning, and we've taken a very aggressive approach to this. We have moved faster because we've now got the confidence of the staff to do that as well. I'll hand over to Chris to talk about the artificial intelligence across the city.
So just to bring you up to speed, Glasgow was one of the first local authorities in Scotland to publish a comprehensive AI policy for schools, issued in draft format in January 2024 and consulted with all teachers across the city. Focuses on the principles from UNESCO and the European Commission of fairness, safety, privacy and inclusion, and also makes sure that AI is used to support learning while protecting pupils and staff. And the policy is updated each year so it stays relevant and practical. And to make this policy real in classrooms, we've given staff clear guidance. Every school has a one-page document that sets out expectations alongside the AI policy. Staff must use human oversight at the centre, and they can use AI to help with ideas or feedback, but they must check all outputs. before using them in class, and no pupil school data can be added to any AI tool unless approved by a data protection impact assessment. Sorry, I've just realised that's our time ran out. Are we okay still to continue?
If you could sum up within the next minute or so, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay. No, not a problem. So all these guides are issued to schools to make sure they are compliant with AI tools. There's also pupil guidance that's issued as well, which centres around self-policing initially, and we're going to keep an eye on that to make sure that users are acknowledging when they are using AI in their assignments. It also builds up digital citizenship across the piece as well. We also have a list of AI-approved applications, and every tool is checked against the Glasgow Pedagogy Model to make sure that it supports core elements like questioning, feedback, assessment, differentiation, and collaborative learning. And current approved tools include the ones you see on the screen there, with teachers remaining in control at all times, as AI assists the learning but does not replace them. And then looking ahead, we are looking towards Canva for Education, which is currently being reviewed as part of our DPIA process as well.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much to Simon and to Chris for that inspiring intervention. This is a really great example of how a city can really advance with an AI policy in a very concrete way. It's great to see the different guidance support you're offering there, but also really making sure the focus is on using AI as a supporting tool rather than replacing the role of educators. I think that's a really crucial consideration. Thank you so much again to both of you. Please feel free to share any questions you may have for today's speakers in the Q&A box. Just a quick note there for our audience. Now let us give the floor to the city of Yeonpyeong-gu in the Republic of Korea and hear from Ms. Do-soon Hwang, who is a lifelong educator at the Civic Education Division of the Yeonpyeong-gu office. So this presentation will be delivered in Korean. To follow this intervention in English, please ensure you are in the English audio channel. To follow in Korean, however, please navigate to the original audio channel. Everybody else, please stay where you are. So let us now take a look at this recording provided by Ms. Hwang. Thank you.
여러분 안녕하세요. 저는 서울 은평구청 평생교육사 황두순입니다. 오늘 이렇게 뜻깊은 자리에서 은평구의 경험을 소개할 수 있게 되어 매우 영광입니다. 먼저 말씀드리고 싶은 것은 은평구의 AI 기반 디지털 교육은 아직 초기 단계라는 점입니다. 시행착오도 많았지만 다양한 방법을 시도하며 점차 학습 현장에 뿌리내리고 있습니다. 오늘 발표에서는 은평구가 어떻게 AI를 평생학습에 적용하고 있는지, 그리고 연령대별로 어떤 프로그램을 운영하고 있으며 점차 자리를 잡아가고 있는지 말씀드리겠습니다. 먼저 은평구를 소개해드리겠습니다. 은평구는 서울 북서부에 위치해 있으며 북한산과 풍부한 자연 환경을 배경으로 도시와 자연이 조화를 이루는 곳입니다. 현재 약 47만 명의 주민이 살고 있습니다. 은평구는 마을대학, 평생학습관, 온라인 플랫폼 등 다양한 평생학습 기반을 두고 있습니다. 이러한 기반은 주민 누구나 어떤 생애 주기에 있든 학습에 참여할 수 있도록 돕고 있습니다. 2024년에는 유네스코 학습도시상을 받으며 그동안의 노력을 돌아볼 수 있었습니다. 지금은 기후위기 대응과 디지털 전환을 중심으로 다른 도시들과 함께 배우고 실천해 나가고 있습니다. 하지만 이러한 기반이 갖추어져 있음에도 불구하고 새로운 시대적 변화 속에서 여러 과제들이 나타났습니다. 많은 도시와 마찬가지로 은평구도 빠른 기술 발전, 디지털 격차, 그리고 연령별 학습 모델 필요성과 같은 과제에 직면해 있습니다. 이에 대한 대응으로 4가지 전략을 추진하고 있습니다. 첫째, 세대 간 AI 학습. 둘째, 개인화된 AI 학습. 셋째, 지역 자원과 기술 결합. 넷째, 포용적 참여를 통한 지속 가능성 창출입니다. 이제 이러한 전략을 실제로 어떻게 실행했는지 생애 주기별 프로그램 사례를 통해 보여드리겠습니다. 저희의 전략은 생애 주기적 접근입니다. 청소년에게는 AI 영화 프로젝트로 창의성과 디지털 리터러시를 키우고 청년에게는 AI를 통한 경력 개발과 미래 역량을 지원합니다. 중장년층에게는 디지털 포용 워크숍으로 정보 격차를 줄이고 어르신에게는 세대 간 창작 글쓰기를 통해 디지털 리터러시와 교류를 촉진합니다. 이러한 접근은 맞춤형 학습, 세대 간 연결, 지속 가능한 학습 생태계를 함께 만들어갑니다. 이제 청소년을 대상으로 한 프로그램을 소개해 드리겠습니다. 은평구에서는 은평 미디어랩 2025 AI 필름 아카데미를 운영하고 있습니다. 이 프로그램은 고등학생과 학교 밖 청소년, 특히 취약계층을 우선 대상으로 합니다. 2025년 7월과 8월에 은평 영화제와 연계해 워크숍 형식으로 진행되고 있습니다. 참여 학생들은 챗 GPT, 미드저니, 젠3, 소라 같은 다양한 AI 도구를 활용합니다. 이를 통해 영화 제작의 전 과정을 직접 경험하게 되는데요. 먼저 오리엔테이션을 통해 프로그램을 소개받고 AI를 활용해 시나리오와 스토리보드를 작성합니다. 또 기본적인 AI와 영화 제작 교육을 받은 후 챗GPT를 이용해 영화 속 등장인물까지 직접 만들어 보게 됩니다. 이 과정은 단순히 기술을 배우는 것을 넘어서 청소년들의 창의성을 발휘하고 디지털 리터러시를 높이는 데 큰 도움이 되고 있습니다. 이렇게 청소년들은 오리엔테이션을 거쳐 AI로 시나리오와 스토리보드를 만들고 영화의 캐릭터까지 직접 창조하게 됩니다. 여기서 멈추는 것이 아니라 이어지는 과정에서는 실제 영화 제작의 전문적인 단계를 경험합니다. 다음 단계는 영상 편집과 사운드 디자인입니다. 학생들은 자신이 만든 스토리와 캐릭터를 영상으로 구현하고 몰입감 있는 음향까지 직접 설계합니다. 또한 전문가 멘토링을 통해 영화 제작 전반에 대한 전문적인 조언을 받습니다. 마지막으로 자신들의 작품을 은평 청소년 영화제 무대에서 직접 발표하며 성과를 공유하게 됩니다. 이 과정을 통해 청소년들은 단순히 AI 기술을 배우는 것에 그치지 않고 창의성과 디지털 미디어 역량, 그리고 미래 진로 탐색의 기회까지 얻게 됩니다. 청소년 프로그램에 이어 이번에는 청년 세대를 위한 프로그램을 소개하겠습니다. 은평구는 19세에서 39세 청년들을 대상으로 제너러티브 AI 커리어 이노베이션 워크숍을 진행했습니다. 이 프로그램은 2025년 5월 혁신융합대학에서 무료로 운영되었으며 챗GPT와 같은 AI 도구를 활용해 진행되었습니다. 참가자들은 AI 실습 학습을 통해 창의적인 프로젝트를 설계하고 디지털 포트폴리오를 만들어 보았습니다. 또한 미래 기술 역량을 개발하고 자신에게 맞는 진로를 설계하는 경험을 했습니다. 이 과정을 통해 청년들은 단순히 기술을 배우는 것을 넘어서 AI를 활용한 커리어 관리, 자기 주도성과 적응력, 그리고 취창업 역량을 기르고 미래를 준비하는 데 필요한 통찰을 얻을 수 있었습니다. 결과적으로 이 프로그램은 청년들이 빠르게 변화하는 디지털 사회에서 새로운 기회를 발견하고 지속적 평생학습의 길을 열어가는 계기가 되었습니다. 청년 프로그램에 이어서 이번에는 세대 간 교류를 위한 프로그램을 소개하겠습니다. 이 과정은 청년과 시니어가 함께 참여하는 AI 기반 창작 글쓰기 여정입니다. 참여자들은 AI 이미지 생성 기술을 활용해 이야기를 시각적으로 표현하고 세대 간 스토리텔링 세션을 통해서 서로의 경험과 시각을 나누게 됩니다. 또한 AI의 도움을 받아 디지털 책을 제작하는 과정까지 이어집니다. 이 프로그램의 가장 큰 특징은 첫째, 세대 간 소통을 촉진한다는 점, 둘째, 디지털 친화적인 창작 경험을 제공한다는 점, 셋째, 스토리텔링의 AI 기술을 결합한다는 점입니다. 궁극적으로 이 프로그램은 디지털 혁신을 통해 세대 간 다리를 놓는 것을 목표로 하고 있습니다. 이를 통해서 서로 다른 세대가 함께 배우고 새로운 방식으로 연결될 수 있음을 보여주고 있었습니다. 마지막으로 중장년층과 교육 전문가를 대상으로 한 프로그램을 소개하겠습니다. 먼저 중장년층을 위한 과정입니다. 이들은 경력 전환과 새로운 기회를 필요로 하는 세대인데요. 은평구는 커리어 전환 상담, 디지털 리터러시 교육, 그리고 전문가와 함께하는 워크숍과 세미나를 통해 AI 시대에 맞는 역량을 강화할 수 있도록 지원하고 있습니다. 또한 교육 전문가를 대상으로 한 프로그램도 운영하고 있습니다. 여기서 챗 GPT와 같은 AI 도구를 직접 체험하고 교육 현장에서 AI를 어떻게 적용할 수 있을지 함께 토론하며 지식을 공유할 수 있는 커뮤니티를 만들어 가고 있습니다. 이러한 과정은 교육 현장의 기획 역량을 높이고 교사와 교육자들의 디지털 리터러시를 강화하는 성과로 이어지고 있습니다. 마지막으로 은평구의 경험에서 얻은 핵심 메시지와 결론을 말씀드리겠습니다. 첫째, 맞춤형 설계입니다. 연령과 필요에 따라 학습 내용을 최적화하여 모든 세대가 쉽게 참여할 수 있도록 했습니다. 둘째, 포용성 강화입니다. 디지털 격차를 줄이고 다양한 계층이 동등하게 학습 기회를 누릴 수 있도록 했습니다. 셋째, 지속 가능한 생태계입니다. 세대를 잇는 학습 네트워크를 구축해 장기적으로 지속 가능한 구조를 만들어가고 있습니다. 이 과정을 통해서 은평구는 4가지 중요한 성과를 확인했습니다. 세대를 잇는 연결, AI 기반 학습의 정착, 포용적 디지털 학습 환경 구축, 그리고 주민과 교육자, 지역이 함께하는 협력의 힘입니다. 궁극적으로 기술은 단순한 혁신을 넘어 세대와 세대를 잇는 의미 있는 연결을 만드는 것이라고 믿습니다. 이상으로 은평구의 사례를 공유드렸습니다. 오늘 소개한 프로그램이나 활동에 대해 더 궁금한 점이 있으시다면 아래 연락처로 언제든지 연락 주시기 바랍니다. 함께 배우고 실천하는 과정에서 서로에게 좋은 영감을 나눌 수 있기를 기대합니다. 경청해 주셔서 감사합니다.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, that was a fantastic intervention there. Thank you very much again to Ms. Huang and the city of Yongpyeong-gu. It was particularly fascinating to learn more about the city's efforts to use AI to bring different generations together in intergenerational learning and storytelling settings, but also great to see a very creative use of AI there in the context of the Film Academy that was mentioned. So to continue this discussion then on the theme of digital learning and AI in learning cities, we wish to invite Ms. Laura Lisette Enriquez, President Commissioner for Transparency and Personal Data Protection of Mexico City, or InfoCDMX in Mexico, to share her insights. Now, this presentation will be delivered in Spanish, so to follow this intervention in English, please ensure you are in the English audio channel, and to follow in Spanish, please navigate to the original audio channel. Everybody else, please stay where you are. So Laura, you have 5 minutes. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Good afternoon, Hamburg, and good morning from Mexico. It's a pleasure to share with all of you. As we have simultaneous translation, as Katie says, I'll continue to speak in Spanish if you don't mind. Así que, bueno, es un honor participar de verdad en este seminario web de la Red Mundial de Ciudades de Aprendizaje de la UNESCO, que organiza el Instituto para el Aprendizaje a lo largo de toda la vida. De verdad, saludar ahí a todos los colegas panelistas que me están acompañando, todas las personas que están aquí conectadas. Voy a ser muy puntual porque solamente tengo 5 minutos. Me invitaron justo a este seminario a compartirles experiencias prácticas relacionadas con aprendizaje inclusivo a partir del uso de herramientas digitales. Así que lo que voy a tratar de presentarles es un panorama de qué es lo que estamos haciendo desde el ámbito público. Tengo que hacer esa aclaración porque yo pertenezco a una institución pública. Desde el sector público lo que estamos haciendo, particularmente desde el Instituto de Transparencia y Privacidad de la Ciudad de México, que como les dijo Katie, yo soy presidenta de este instituto en nuestra ciudad. El enfoque que se le va a dar en particular a esta presentación tiene que ver con la materia de inteligencia artificial y se los voy a compartir a partir de 4 puntos. El primero, ¿por qué hablar de inteligencia artificial desde este Instituto de Transparencia y Privacidad de la Ciudad de México? El segundo, compartirles una iniciativa de ley que se presentó en esta materia. El tercero, compartirles las acciones de capacitación que se han vinculado con inteligencia artificial desde este instituto. Y el cuarto, también compartirles uno de los proyectos que hemos desarrollado que utilizan esta tecnología y con el cual mantenemos una comunicación con la sociedad en general. ¿Sí? Es una manera de empoderar a la sociedad y de acostumbrarla a nuevas tecnologías y a nuevas formas de comunicación con el gobierno. Entonces, vamos por el primer punto. Para quienes no nos conocen todavía, el Instituto de Transparencia y Privacidad, que nosotros conocemos como Info o Info de la Ciudad de México, es una institución que se encarga de garantizar dos derechos fundamentales en la capital de nuestro país, que es el acceso a la información y la protección de datos personales. ¿Y por qué un instituto de esta naturaleza tendría que abordar el tema de inteligencia artificial? Bueno, porque esta tecnología incide, esta herramienta incide de manera directa en estos dos derechos que estamos garantizando o buscando garantizar. Por un lado, porque nos permite abrir nuevas posibilidades para poder gestionar y para poder hacer más fácil el acceso a la información pública para todas las personas, pero al mismo tiempo nos está planteando riesgos importantes para la protección de datos personales. Hay uso indebido o hay riesgos asociados al uso de los datos personales. A diferencia de muchas partes del mundo en el que hay dos instituciones distintas que se encargan, por un lado, de la materia de acceso a la información y por otro lado, de la materia de protección de datos personales, nosotros somos una única institución que se encarga de las dos temáticas y eso nos hace distintos a nivel mundial, así que tenemos que encontrar un equilibrio entre las dos perspectivas. Además, quiero decirles que cuando los entes públicos, las instituciones públicas, adoptamos sistemas automatizados de decisión, es importante, muy importante, es indispensable asegurar transparencia algorítmica, rendición de cuentas y la protección de derechos fundamentales, de modo que la innovación tecnológica esté siempre al servicio de la sociedad. En el caso de la Ciudad de México hay un reporte de una institución académica que es el Centro de Investigación y Docencia Económicas, lo conocemos como CIDE, que identifica que en México existen más de 100 proyectos que utilizan ya inteligencia artificial desde el sector público. En la Ciudad de México en particular tenemos al menos 12 proyectos con 12 instituciones públicas diferentes que estamos ya utilizando algún sistema de inteligencia artificial y por eso no queríamos dejar este tema de la inteligencia artificial de lado en un plano secundario. Una de las acciones, si me ayudan con la diapositiva, muchas gracias, una de las acciones que emprendimos, que empezamos a impulsar desde el Info Ciudad de México, desde este instituto, desde el año pasado, fue impulsar una iniciativa de ley única, primera en su naturaleza ante el Congreso de la Ciudad de México, no el Congreso del país, sino el Congreso de la capital, para poder regular el uso de la inteligencia artificial en el tratamiento de datos personales por parte de instituciones públicas de la capital. A eso se ciñe, no tiene nada que ver con instituciones privadas, porque el instituto que yo represento es público y no puedo presentar iniciativas de ley que tengan que ver con el ámbito privado, pero lo hicimos ya para las instituciones públicas de la capital. ¿Qué estamos buscando? Garantizar que el desarrollo y que la aplicación de sistemas de inteligencia artificial en la administración pública se haga con un marco normativo que garantice transparencia, que garantice ética y respeto a la privacidad, porque el tema de ética había sido relegado en México a un plano secundario y necesita estar de nueva cuenta en la discusión. Y además fue esta iniciativa de ley un fruto de un trabajo colaborativo entre organizaciones de la sociedad civil, la academia y, por supuesto, el gobierno, lo que pone a la Ciudad de México a la vanguardia en la protección de datos frente a los retos que plantea la inteligencia artificial. Es una iniciativa única a nivel hemisferio, a nivel hemisferio de nuestro planeta, porque el enfoque que tiene es hacia protección de datos personales. La iniciativa, por cierto, ya se turnó a comisiones, aún no se dictamina ni se vota, pero me parece que es un documento importante de referencia para otros países u otras entidades que estén buscando impulsar una legislación en materia de inteligencia artificial desde el enfoque particular de la privacidad y la protección de datos personales. El segundo gran tema que les he querido compartir tiene que ver con la capacitación. Este esfuerzo, particularmente en materia de protección de datos personales, ha sido una constante en las actividades que se impulsan desde este instituto, pero especialmente en el contexto de intensificación tecnológica en el que estamos, hemos tenido que adaptar y actualizar nuestros contenidos académicos. De hecho, sumamos a la oferta educativa de nuestro centro de capacitación un curso, por ejemplo, relacionado con la introducción a la inteligencia artificial en el ámbito público, pero también desde la vida privada de las personas, para fortalecer sus capacidades técnicas, también normativas, y promover una cultura de la prevención, de la transparencia y la confianza. Ya se ha impartido este curso a personas de 23 instituciones de la Ciudad de México, que es un esfuerzo inicial porque somos más de 100 instituciones públicas en la capital del país, pero ya vamos iniciando con 23 para fortalecer sus capacidades actualmente. Y finalmente, les quiero compartir que dentro de las herramientas que hemos impulsado en el instituto, también contamos con una que utiliza inteligencia artificial, le llamamos Chatbot ATIC. Es una herramienta que se desarrolló desde el propio instituto y que, bueno, como muchas herramientas que se han desarrollado en el ámbito privado, pero que cuestan más trabajo en el ámbito público, permite que las personas interactúen con un chatbot a través de WhatsApp, pero en este caso la consulta es a información pública. Se les da información pública que debe de estar disponible para todas y para todos en segundos. Aquí en México tenemos plazos de 9, de 20 días para poder acceder a información pública de todo el país, pero en este chatbot te permite acceder a información pública de la Ciudad de México en segundos. Y esto se alimenta con inteligencia artificial para ir aprendiendo en el tiempo sobre cómo contestar. Es una manera de acercar un derecho humano, que en México es el derecho de acceso a la información, a través de tecnologías que sean más accesibles. Aquí les dejo este código QR. Se interactúa en español con este chatbot, pero ya tenemos más de 100,000 interacciones registradas desde su lanzamiento. Es una manera de generar interacciones con las personas. Y bueno, ya no me extiendo. Gracias por la oportunidad. Les quería compartir estas 3 grandes líneas de acción sobre lo que estamos haciendo desde el instituto para impulsar un uso ético y responsable de la inteligencia artificial, poniendo en nuestro caso siempre en el centro a las personas, a sus derechos humanos. Por temas de tiempo, por supuesto, he sido muy general, pero información sobre alguno de los proyectos que hemos instituto, con un enfoque particular, uso responsable de la inteligencia artificial, que es un reto, pero también es una gran oportunidad para poder construir un futuro digital que sea más ético, más transparente y más seguro. Y bueno, espacios como este seminario definitivamente son muy importantes. Me encanta porque yo también estoy pudiendo aprender de lo que otras ciudades están haciendo para garantizar la innovación sin poner en riesgo los derechos de las personas. Sería todo, Katie. Muchas gracias.
Perfecto. Muchísimas gracias, Laura, por compartir sus reflexiones y experiencias. Fue fantástico conocer los programas de capacitación que mencionó y le agradezco que haya destacado la importancia de utilizar la IA de forma ética y transparente, también en el ámbito del aprendizaje. Así que muchísimas gracias, Laura. Ahora nos acompaña la señora Daniela Jaramillo, directora de Innovación Educativa de la ciudad de Envigado, en Colombia, y el señor Arley Mira, responsable de planificación educativa de la misma ciudad, para compartir sus experiencias con oportunidades de aprendizaje innovadoras y la IA a través del enfoque STEM Plus. Una vez más, esta presentación se realizará en español. Para seguir esta intervención en inglés, por favor, asegúrense de estar en el canal de audio English. Para seguirla en español, diríjanse al canal audio original, por favor. Daniela y Arley tienen 5 minutos, por favor. Tienen la palabra. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Katie. Como bien lo decías, mi nombre es Daniela Jaramillo, directora de innovación de Envigado. Es un honor para mí poder compartir con ustedes la visión y las acciones que desde Envigado hemos estado implementando para potenciar la educación STEM+, la inclusión y el aprovechamiento consciente de las tecnologías, incluida la inteligencia artificial, como ese motor transformador de la educación. En Envigado nos enorgullece ser reconocidos como ciudad del aprendizaje de la UNESCO y como territorio más regenerativo, que digamos es una visión que traduce esa educación de calidad, transformadora, pertinente y conectada con esos desafíos del siglo XXI. Quiero comenzar contándoles, si quieres, pasa por favor la presentación, no tengo manera de hacerlo acá, muchas gracias. Contándoles que desde Envigado las competencias robóticas se han institucionalizado en un evento anual desde el 2019. Esta estrategia es clave para que los estudiantes puedan asumir retos asociados al tema social, al tema ambiental, mediante el uso pues, de las tecnologías. Cada año estos desafíos son distintos, se enfocan en problemáticas contextualizadas con el territorio. Digamos, como ejemplo pongo, en la pandemia se desarrolló un robot desinfectante. Lo que se quería lograr con él era poder tener una desinfección y lavado de manos sin necesidad de tener un contacto físico. Para este año tenemos también Olimpiadas Robóticas, está centrado, o bueno, digamos que le llamamos Misión de Rescate Maker, está basado en las problemáticas nuevamente del territorio, pensando en los deslizamientos, terremotos y cómo podemos tener acceso como a los lugares en inmediatez que el ser humano no puede ingresar como en el momento preciso como de la catástrofe como tal. Bueno, digamos que aquí tenemos soluciones tecnológicas también con enfoque STEM+. Y más allá, pues digamos que de ser una competencia técnica, esto es un evento que se ha consolidado como un proceso pedagógico que invita a los estudiantes, a los docentes y a la comunidad a poder compartir soluciones tecnológicas que tengan un propósito. Continúa, porfa. Listo. Continúa más adelante. Bueno, ¿por qué este enfoque? Digamos que tenemos una pregunta base y es cómo podemos usar la tecnología para cuidar la vida de nuestro territorio. Ese es el reto. Surge a partir de la lectura del entorno, abordamos problemáticas reales como los deslizamientos, incendios forestales o esas dificultades de acceso en medio de la emergencia. Esto convierte la tecnología como en una excusa pedagógica para que los estudiantes se conozcan como maker y sean esos ciudadanos capaces de transformar sus realidades. Además, pues digamos que dentro del proceso contamos con diferentes empresas que participan y se suman a estas iniciativas. Son aliados estratégicos, contamos con los bomberos de Envigado, la institución universitaria de Envigado, el Centro de Innovación y Desarrollo, empresas privadas que ellas enriquecen como ese proceso con sus saberes, experiencias y recursos. Pasa por favor la presentación. Bueno, me gustaría también poder mencionar algunas metodologías y herramientas. Nos visualizamos el futuro sembrando como con sentido y para lograrlo, pues nos apoyamos en esas metodologías como el aprendizaje basado en retos, como el design thinking. ¿Cómo utilizamos estas herramientas? Por medio de Tinkercad facilitamos el diseño robótico en 3D y la simulación como de esos circuitos. Con el Arduino los estudiantes entonces aprenden a programar como microcontroladores. El tema con MIT Lab de Inventor, que bueno, si bien no es una aplicación que está relacionada de manera directa con la inteligencia artificial, sí facilita mucho el acceso y la integración a funciones con la inteligencia artificial. Utilizamos kit de robóticas Innot, que este también nos permite como esa implementación física y materialización de las ideas y de los diseños. Bueno, desde nuestra estrategia nos estamos pensando el desarrollo de competencias para el siglo XXI, para la cuarta revolución industrial. Es un enfoque más allá de la construcción de un robot. Nos enfocamos como en esas competencias esenciales del siglo XXI, en el pensamiento computacional y lógico, la resolución de problemas y pensamientos críticos, la colaboración y el trabajo en equipo, la creatividad y la innovación, la comunicación multimodal, la resiliencia, el uso ético de esas herramientas tecnológicas. Pasa, porfa. Bueno, en inclusión y equidad lo llamamos rompiendo barreras. Digamos que estas Olimpiadas están abiertas a estudiantes de sexto hasta 11º grado. Aquí como aprovechamos activamente la participación más equitativa de las niñas en el campo de la robótica y la programación. Esto muy enfocado en el desafío de estereotipo de géneros, de que haya como ese cierre de brechas. También les cuento que contamos con un sistema urbano de aprendizaje digital con inteligencia artificial. Desde el Centro de Innovación y Desarrollo de Envigado se está consolidando el Centro de Ciencia que apuesta por la formación situada, conecta la tecnología con el territorio, se desarrollan iniciativas que integran la inteligencia artificial como esa herramienta de aprendizaje inclusivo. Algunas iniciativas son Señor Tech, este está dirigido a adultos mayores, se promueve esa apropiación de tecnología para la vida cotidiana, incluyendo el uso de inteligencia artificial, digamos como lo que es la solicitud de una cita médica, por ejemplo. Talento Tech es otra iniciativa, esta es una alianza con la Universidad de Antioquia, allí tenemos bootcamp abiertos a la comunidad, incluye formación en inteligencia artificial, programación y habilidades pues, digitales de manera general. Tenemos otra iniciativa, se llama Impacto Maker, este es un
Daniela,
proyecto desarrollado.
perdona por interrumpir esta intervención tan interesante e inspiradora. Solamente tendremos que cerrar la intervención en más o menos 2 minutos para poder cerrar el webinar. Entonces, si
Listo.
podrían como terminar más o menos pronto sería perfecto. Muchísimas gracias y perdón.
Listo, perfecto. Dale, tranqui. Bueno, y allí también trabajamos como todo el tema pedagógico con inteligencia artificial, con los docentes y demás. Pasa la presentación, porfa. Pasa. La siguiente. Bueno, acá nos pensamos como el futuro con la inteligencia artificial para la semana STEM más Envigado 2025. Estamos dando un paso más allá de incluir como el tema de robótica. Vamos a tener una hackathon con inteligencia artificial y un foro llamado Tendencias que Transforman, Educación, Tecnología y Ética. Digamos que estamos construyendo a través de la robótica y el pensamiento computacional como ese andamiaje perfecto para que nuestros estudiantes no solo comprendan la inteligencia artificial, sino que también se vuelvan esos creadores activos y conscientes de esas soluciones. Si quieres, pasa. Y bueno, acá tenemos como 2 ítems puntuales. No formamos técnicos y profesionales, también ciudadanos críticos, empáticos y solidarios. Concebimos la inteligencia artificial como esa herramienta de inclusión, innovación y transformación educativa. Con esto termino, Katie. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Daniela. Fue una intervención súper interesante y súper práctica también, así que muchísimas gracias. So thank you so much to Daniela and also to Arle. We really do appreciate that very insightful presentation there. Thank you so much for raising those important points around inclusion and equity too. So today, I don't think we will have so much time for Q&A, unfortunately, given the very enriching presentations we've had from one expert and 4 learning cities. However, I would like to say thank you very much to our presenters for your great contributions to today's webinar. I personally found the interventions and experiences you shared here very, very enriching, and I do hope that other cities can take away inspiration from all of our presenters today in their efforts to continue their great work in this increasingly important area as learning cities. So many thanks to all of you for joining us, and I really do hope that there will be other spaces looking ahead, given the relevance of this topic, to be able to exchange further on related themes. So I would now like to invite Mr. Raul Valdez, Chief Program Coordinator AI at UIL and the GNLC Coordinator, to deliver his closing remarks. So Raul, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Katie. I think it was a very excited presentation. It's a pity we didn't have time for more discussions. I think we need to have another webinar on this topic, because it's quite relevant, and there's a lot that cities are doing on this. So we need to think about it. But thank you very much to all presenters for the great contribution to today's webinar. I found really the intervention and experience you share here so enriching. I hope that other cities can take away this inspirational of what was presented. And I think today's presentation explored really innovative ways in which digital tools are being leveraged in cities-based learning systems to foster lifelong learning. It was wonderful to learn from concrete initiatives used to incorporate digital and AI-based solutions to make lifelong learning. It was really nice from the 5 presenters, the European Association of Adult Education, Glasgow, Ampeong, Mexico City, Envigado. Many thanks for the thoughtful and inspirational contributions. I would like also to thank UIL colleagues. Thank you, Katie, for this quite challenging moderation, but you, as always, managed quite well. But all the colleagues involved in the preparation and facilitation of the webinar, particularly this one, but in general in the webinar series. And I'm looking forward to our upcoming event. You can find our full calendar and more information about each session on the UIL website. We would also like to remind you that as the GNLC member city, we would like to hear from your experiences. So if you're interested in presenting in one of the webinars this year, please use the survey being shared by our team in the chat. Our next webinar will take place on Wednesday, 15 October at the same time as today. And this event is titled Exploring Learning Through Culture, Leveraging the Arts of Empower Cities. Registration is now open for this. I think it's also very excited to hear how arts are related and articulated with learning processes and empower citizens through arts and learning. We wish you a very nice day or evening ahead. Thank you all.